What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today I wanted to do something a little bit different, go off script, and essentially just take a look at some financial mistakes that I believe you should avoid going into your 20s. Now, we set this up in a couple categories: avoid at all costs being the worst, then very bad, bad, not great, and minimal impact. Now, we're just going to get right into it. The first one here is lifestyle creep. Now, if you're not familiar with lifestyle creep, this is a concept that essentially says when you get a promotion at work or any type of pay increase, you directly raise your cost of living proportional to that raise. So it's essentially, think of it like jogging in place, but for your finances. So say you get a big raise at work, and instead of paying yourself first and investing a good portion of that, you go out and buy a watch for, say, 80% of the total amount of your raise. Now, this can be a huge mistake depending on how bad you take the lifestyle creep. I would say most people, the downfall is actually things like subscriptions and small upgrades that add up over time rather than one large purchase. But for now, I think I'm going to keep lifestyle creep in the not great category. Now, next up is going to be not saving or investing at all. And the problem with this is you're missing out on tons of gains in the market. Now, on average, we're told that it's about 8 to 10%, but on larger years, you can actually see gains well past 10%. And not saving and investing at all is going to be a huge detriment to your financial health down the line. So I'm going to put this up into the avoid at all costs. You really have no reason not to be saving or investing at all unless you're in a paycheck to paycheck scenario, which I know a ton of the country is actually in right now. And pulling yourself out of that situation should be your very first priority. Next up is going to be not having an emergency fund. I would put this in very bad, not avoid at all costs. I know people like Dave Ramsey say you should set yourself up with a $1,000 emergency fund, but I know that a lot of times that's not feasible for everyone depending on their situation. But I think overall, not having an emergency fund is hugely detrimental. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's a fund for your emergencies, and you need to be prepared for the worst, especially in today's economy, the way the job market's looking and all of those sorts of things. Next up is going to be getting student loans for low return on investment degrees. Now, if you're taking out massive amounts of debt for something like an art degree, this is something that I would consider definitely a huge mistake. I would put this in very bad, not quite avoid at all costs, because there are some degrees, or not some degrees, but there are some instances where you may go to college and the networking and opportunities you get from meeting people could actually be worth the cost itself. So inadvertently, you may end up with a better job because of somebody that you meet. You may end up working for their dad's business or their mom's business or something along those lines. So I wouldn't say it's avoid at all costs, but it's definitely, in today's day and age, with the statistics we're starting to see around degrees like psychology, social studies, things like that, it really just doesn't make sense mathematically to go into these fields knowing what we know now. Next up is going to be not asking for raises. I would put this in the bad tier. I don't think it's the worst thing you can do, especially considering that some people will actually ask for raises too often, and you honestly could end up getting fired just based on being too brash with your upper management. So I would say you're missing out on an opportunity if you really never ask for a raise past your end of year performance review. But I don't think it's the worst thing on this list by far. Next up is going to be keeping too much money in cash. Some people are really scared of the volatility that they're seeing going on in the stock market, and rightfully so. You know, there are talks of an AI bubble. People don't really know where to put their money in something that they can trust and have full confidence in. But I think overall, if you're investing with the sentiment of long-term growth, it's not really something you need to be worried about anyways, unless you are such a skeptic that you think the entire world is going to, crumble in the next week or so. But keeping too much money in cash, I even would prefer someone to keep their money in something like gold and silver. I think are a better idea. I've always liked the idea of keeping your money tangible, but too much cash just sitting in an account is definitely a bad move. So we're going to put this in not great. Next up is going to be buying a new car, specifically a new car that is going to depreciate hugely right off the lot. Now, this could be a luxury brand or just a bad situation. I see a ton of these videos of people coming out and getting in these Kias because they have like such a great warranty, but Kias and Hyundais are starting to be seen as not as reliable as advertised. A lot of them have a longer warranty because that's really the life expectancy of the vehicle. As soon as that warranty ends, that vehicle is, for lack of a better word, going to explode. I mean, we're seeing catastrophic engine failure in some of these newer models really early on in the lifespan of the vehicle. But back on track, buying a new car specifically with today's financing, at most of the places you're going to go to try and get a new car or even a used car, you're going to see huge interest rates that are really just going to tank your financial health down the line. I would put this up into the very bad category. Next up is subscription creep. And nowadays it really seems impossible to avoid subscriptions. I mean, if you want to listen to music even, your only choices are essentially a subscription. So it's kind of unavoidable nowadays. But I would say getting things like clothing subscriptions, or I remember back in the day, one thing that was highly advertised to gamers was Loot Crate. Something like this is really just going to eat away at the amount of money that you otherwise should be investing. And I think it's something that people kind of put on the back burner, but it really could start to eat away at your finances. So I'm going to put that into the not great category. Next up is high interest debt. Now, this could encompass credit card debt. It could even be certain types of student loans, personal loans, buy now, pay later. These types of things are all high interest debt, and they're the number one wealth killer in America. This is absolutely, you need to stay away from high interest debt like the plague. Next up is going to be not taking advantage of employer benefits. So this is going to be things like 401k match, which seems to be going away more and more nowadays. 401k match, stock program, health insurance, things like that. Guys, these are all things that your company has worked into their budget. If you're not taking advantage of a 401k match, it's literally free money you're leaving off the table. And usually the argument towards that is, I need more money in my take-home pay. But at the end of the day, you're getting a match on top of your contribution, and you really don't need to worry about that money unless you legitimately can't pay your bills, which I know is definitely could be a situation. But down the line, worst case scenario, in my opinion, is you could always borrow against your 401k if it really gets to that point. Or you could always withdraw early with a penalty if you really, really need that money. But not taking the match just doesn't make sense mathematically at the end of the day. So I'm going to put this in bad tier. I don't think it's the worst possible thing, but if it's already set up with your employer's budget, like, there's really no reason for you to not take what they're offering you. It's a big part of their marketing when they're trying to recruit employees. All right, this next one is going to be trying to time the market instead of dollar cost averaging. You'll hear a lot of people, especially right now with all the volatility, saying, I'm waiting for a crash to reinvest and get back into the stock market, or get into the stock market for the first time. And if they time it perfectly, yes, they'll definitely be better off than some of us. But the thing is, the psychology behind that is actually closer to the psychology of a speculative investor rather than someone that wants to invest long term. And this could show signs of them actually withdrawing their funds early anyways. So you kind of just need to tune the noise out on these people that are trying to speculate on the market. And if you just trust in the system that's already at place, you should just dollar cost average like you already have been doing and tune out all the noise. And you're most likely going to be better off than 90% of those who are trying to, wait for a big dip or make some big options play and try and hit it big. So I would say this is in the very bad category, honestly, because you're missing out on a ton of gains if you're not already just contributing month over month. This next one's going to be impulse spending. And this one's kind of tough because it could matter a lot on your situation. Now, if you're paycheck to paycheck and you're going to TJ Maxx and Marshalls and just buying a bunch of crap, this is like terrible. But if you're making a few impulse spends and it brings you a little bit of extra joy and you can totally afford it and it's well within your budget, then it would be minimal. So I think I'm just going to place this in not great for now, because I don't think it's the worst thing in the world, but it really could depend on your situation. But I think overall impulse spending is not going to be like the downfall for most people unless the impulse spending is on huge purchases or worse. Now, next up is going to be meme coins or things like that, or other speculative investing. And I'm definitely going to put this in very bad category. Again, I really don't like the mindset of speculation. Are there people that are going to make a ton of money on a meme coin or a ton of money on options, and then they'll be fine for the rest of their lives? Yes, but you have to look at the statistics on those people and think, is that really likely that that's going to be me? And at the end of the day, no, it's 99% of us that's not going to be the case for, and we should stick to what we know and what we know works. So I think most people are much worse off trying things like that, as they're going to get in their head about it, and it could even lead towards the next one in the remaining categories, which is gambling. Which, guys, gambling has to be avoid at all costs. We're going to place it at the front here too, just in case. This isn't really in order in terms of left to right, but this one should be honestly in its own category. Young men, the statistics, I'll pop a few up here on screen right now. The gambling statistics for young men are insane. Guys, it's ridiculous. We've turned gambling into this social FOMO type of thing, and it's ridiculous. I mean, we're deleting our wealth, and for what? Because you can kind of relate to a few of your buddies who may place a parlay. I mean, it's just not worth it at the end of the day, guys. You have to stay away from all of this noise online too. You see all the flashy cars. You see the Aiden Rosses of the world with all the social, all the social aspects too. It's cool too. It looks cool and flashy. I mean, I used to work in the casino, so I know firsthand it definitely looks cool, and you can have some fun nights out with your friends gambling, but you have to treat it, guys, if you're gonna gamble at all, you have to treat it like a night out at Dave & Buster's. Like, that money is gone as soon as you walk in the door. That's the mindset you have to have. If you even start thinking like, man, I won like $200 the last 2 times I went to the casino. If I make this a regular thing, this could be like my side hustle. Guys, that is exactly what they want you to think walking in there. I mean, I'm not saying anything that hasn't already been said before about this stuff, but I really have to harp on this one because it's really starting to look like an epidemic in America. So guys, please, if you take anything away from this video, don't gamble. And the last one here is just kind of a fun one. But it's honestly a pretty decent one too. I'm going to put it in minimal category. Buying cheap things that break often. Now, it's not that big of a deal, but at the end of the day, it's something that if you just take the time to do a little bit of research on tools or clothes or things like that, and you buy a t-shirt that say is going to last you maybe a year and a half longer than the cheap one would have, you're going to end up saving money because you would have bought like 2 or 3 t-shirts to replace the first shirt because you would have kept buying the cheap ones. And this goes for tools, clothes, and a bunch of different things, but it's definitely minimal at the end of the day. But I think if you can work it into your budget, it'll definitely help you out down the line. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know if I missed anything in the terms of categories. And if you enjoyed, leave a comment, see what kind of tier list I should do next, or what kind of topic I should discuss next. I appreciate you sticking around, and leave a like if you enjoyed, leave a dislike if you didn't. And thanks. See you in the next one.